Ladies and gentlemen, in this week's episode, we're joined by an award-winning entrepreneur based here in the UAE. But rewind 7 years ago, it wasn't always that way. It was just a woman with a dream and a vision to create something special that are going to impact millions of people's lives. And today we're here to tell that story because, like every story we share each week, the journey to where she is today was a challenging one at that. And I think this one is going to be one hell of a podcast to help motivate and inspire you out there, because I think this story is going to resonate with a lot of people. So if this is your first time to the podcast, welcome. If you haven't already, whatever channel you're listening on, please subscribe, because just lately people have been doing that and the podcast has gone literally viral. It's crazy. And without you guys, I literally couldn't have done that. So if you're a repeat listener and show your faith in us every week, thank you very much for giving me your eyes and ears for the next hour. So without further ado, let's welcome this week's guest, the founder of Tara Rose Salons and Academy, Tara Rose Kidd. How are we?
What a fabulous introduction and massive congratulations. That's amazing about going viral.
Thank you.
Very well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I literally was thinking about this on the way here. Is like, you know, we've been able to connect through the people that I've interviewed, and I was listening to a video online somewhere that said, you know, surround yourself with the right people and more good people will come into your life. And that's what the podcast is literally doing is.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's massive, you know, and that's one of the things that I've learned. So you have literally surrounded by yourself with these most amazing people, and you know it cannot fail. You know, in the end, once you understand these things, and that's one of the definitely big things for me as well over the last few years.
It was so surreal watching like my stats, because you can see all the stats online.
Yeah,
and it was like I'd wake up and there was 100,000 streams.
Wow.
And then I'd wake up the next day and I had 1,000 new followers. And then the next day it was like 500,000 streams.
Just watching it.
And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. It's actually giving me tingles thinking about it, because this was only ever a dream once upon a time.
Yeah.
But now that it's starting to happen, is really just, it's
exactly
why I do what I do, you know?
It's amazing.
But Tara, tell me, who are you?
That is a question. Still trying to figure that out. I mean, I am, you know, today I am the owner of Salons and Academy, but you know, it's not always been that way. You know, really my life has only changed in the last 7-8 years. You know, I believe my life has properly started in the last 7-8 years. You know, rewind back at school, you know, I never fitted in. I got bullied. And, you know, I just was dying to be accepted. You know, I just had no idea about who I was as a person. You know, I just literally followed the crowd. So, you know, leaving school, and also I wasn't academic. You know, that was another big thing. I think, you know, the British curriculum, if you're not academic, you don't fit in, you get struck off. You know, if you can't read, write and spell properly, your class is thick. Yeah.
And with the business here, so you're the founder of the Tara Rose Salon and Academy. So give us a context of what the Salon and Academy is.
Okay. So I believe, I opened the salon 7 years ago, one, because I couldn't find anywhere to work. And two, I was fed up of being treated like a number. You know, I got to the point where, you know, people are our business. So, you know, that was the reason behind it. You know, one, somewhere safe to work, and two, giving clients an amazing experience, you know, not just about hair, it's about them. So, you know, it's about that self part in everything that we do, whether it's a client or a staff member. So that was the initial behind it. Yeah. And the Academy started to grow arms and legs on it because, you know, I never had education. You know, I hated education growing up. But equally, as a business owner, coming into it 7 years ago, I could cut hair, you know, but I had no idea about business, leadership, communication, and all of those things, mindset, mental health. So for me, the starting of the Academy was not just about growing people's skill set, because I understood in the journey that I've been on, the things that held me back. Yeah. So, you know, creating this Academy space is a 360 approach to education.
I think what frightens me a lot with education is, especially living in the UAE now, and don't get me wrong, like everybody likes to have a good time, but it's quite a common thing to hear teachers going to brunch every weekend, getting bladdered. being young 23, 24-year-olds. And when you think about it, you look at the cycle, you know, because ultimately, as we'll come on to in a second, I faced the same thing. You know, I was awkward in social situations and the only way I'd feel comfortable was to get drunk. So I was trying to escape something, my reality, whatever it was. But it just makes you realize that, like, if you've got somebody teaching your kids who at the weekend want to escape their reality, it's just inevitably going to be a cycle of like just fucked
emptiness.
Up, really.
Yeah, emptiness. It's and I spent all of my 20s and my late teens and my 20s doing just that. And even, you know, when I came here, for me, I didn't understand who I was, you know, because if you don't understand who you are, you're using, you know, you're using alcohol, whatever it may be, to relax, to enjoy, to fit in, to follow the crowd, the latest party, the latest brunch, you know, and it's a really, really shallow place to get to, you know. I mean, it's great having fun, you know, but for so many people, it becomes normal, you know, that is the only way to have fun.
Yeah.
So it's and I've spent many years in dark places with it. So
there'll be a lot of teachers listening to this and they'll be like, "Oi, Danny, I'm a good teacher." And don't get me wrong, obviously not everyone is that way. But I think even the education system in general, because again, and again, this is based on data of the fact that I've interviewed a lot of successful people that haven't had an education. And I think not having an education is a benefit in the sense of it teaches you to think differently. I'm so open-minded to think about, you know, maybe that might work. If it doesn't, okay, I don't do that again. But like, you know, different ways.
And I totally agree that. Now I understand what I understand. Yes, 100%. But the thing is as well, if you don't have an education and you're not told or you're not shown other things on how to live life, you know, and you don't have the people showing you these things, you know, that you are smart, whatever you do, you know, that you can, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. You know, you don't have to be this person. So equally, again, you know, that is correct for sure, you know, and my son now, you know, he is very, very switched on. I can see it. But when it comes to writing and reading and stuff, I see him struggle. But for me, I know he'll have no problems at all because I see, you know, something in him that is different. And unfortunately, you know, however, you know, I'm nearly 40 now. So when I was growing up, there was less around, you know, sort of limiting beliefs and what we know today.
So that fits in perfectly to rewinding all the way to when you was a child. Tell me about kind of like family demographics, mum, dad, brothers and sisters.
So, you know, I had, you know, great family growing up. My dad had a great job. My mum always looked after us, 2 sisters. I was the eldest. And yeah, I suppose I was the one, the sort of, maybe not black sheep of the family, you know. I was always more a little bit overweight, a bit more chubby, you know. I wasn't great with school. My other 2 sisters were, you know, amazing, flat out, perfect children, you know. So I think, and I never really had much confidence either growing up, you know. I was quite a shy child. So I think, you know, I'd already gone into school with these things sort of around me anyway. And I just never really fitted in at all. You know, I never fitted in. I was dying to fit in, dying to be accepted. But just that sort of resulted in sort of being, you know, the girl that was bullied or the one that was left out. They'd make friends with you, and then they'd fall out with you. You know, you get little notes in your lockers, like really cruel stuff as a kid, you know. And I think that, you know, with then not, you know, being academic as well, you know, I left school feeling pretty low and worthless, you know, where now? Luckily I got a job in a hair salon.
What sort of things would like the kids bully you for?
Just like, I think it was one thing, like I'd have a note in my locker once about like my eyes, you know, my eyes stuck out like had my finger in an electric socket, you know, just really like cruel stuff, you know. They'd be, you know, looking back now, they're jealous, you know. This is the thing, and you don't know this as
you don't realize it.
You don't realize it. This is, you know, and back then, knowing what I now, and I've done a lot of work recently on inner child stuff, is, you know, being able to, support that child and just say, no, you are beautiful. You are all these things.
Yeah.
They are jealous, they don't understand their own feelings. So this is why they're doing this, So luckily now, you go back and you start to do all this work on yourself and you understand why people do it. And it's really important for me now and my son growing up that I'm able to support him in all these areas as well, to be there emotionally. Like my parents are amazing parents, I never wanted for anything. But when it comes to sort of the emotional side, and I think it's that sort of generation of growing up anyway, it's, go to school, get your job, behave, But for me, I didn't know who I was. So the only way I knew how was to start misbehaving.
Yeah.
And that takes us into another.
Yeah, for sure. Now, so when you left school, do you remember what your GCSEs was? It?
Do you know what? Yeah, I failed most of them. I got a B in drama, which was great.
You wait until I tell you mine.
Yeah. And I got a C in food technology.
Yeah.
And everything else was pretty much, so it's pretty much says it all, drama and food, So
I got a C in French and that was it.
That was it.
And I can't even speak French.
No, it's crazy. But yeah, English, maths, all those things, pretty much ungraded. Easy,
Yeah. And what was like, this is another thing that I feel like is when you leave school, I didn't even know what I wanted to do really.
How were you supposed to know?
You still, even now I think, I want to do different things, but it's so difficult to make that life choice. I think that's something the education system can really help get out of people.
Massively. There's an area there where we need to get in sooner to help people. Because again, okay, if you are academic, you push straight into university, you get yourself into debt, thousands of debt doing a degree that you're probably never going to use again, because it's the right thing to do. There's no middle ground, there's so many other things out there, creative roles and I think coming here now, we really do open our minds up to so much more, and the opportunities that there are. But I do think there is a massive, massive sort of missing part in those years in education.
So when you left, you got a job in a salon?
Yes.
And did you like it from the second you started it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I felt accepted. I connected with people. It was people the same as me. So, it was, all of a sudden I wasn't thick. I wasn't, I could graft. I was really, very, very early on, I got noticed very on because of my work ethic. I was traveling an hour to a bus, then I'd get on a bus for 40 minutes, and did an apprenticeship. I was being paid, I think it was about £80. I can't even remember a week. Yeah. Nothing. But I loved it, and I was like, wow, there's something in this. So that was the first, that was why I fell in love with the industry, because of, and this is something we can talk about as well, that moving on with our careers and stuff, the stigma of just a hairdresser as well,
Yeah, because I've got a family of hairdressers, and I think I listened to one of your interviews where where the stigma around hairdressers is like failure, thick, don't get paid well, that sort of thing. But it's such an important role of everybody's life.
Oh my God, and what it does, and I think through
imagine
COVID,
if you took out hairdressers.
Oh, no, God,
oh my God, we'd be
this is
bunch of odd-looking people.
Very strange, but and especially through COVID, I really understood the value of what we do for people. That was taken away from people, and people felt terrible. They need that space, that safe space, not just to have nice hair. And this is a lot what the salon is around, and why we've succeeded so much because of that. 50% has nothing to do with the hair side either. It's about how we make people feel. So again, what we do is very, very powerful. So yes, and that's what I want to sort of really try and remove and build these careers.
Yeah. So you mentioned a second ago about misbehaving. So even though you kind of found like your calling in life, you were still misbehaving?
Well, I found it. But the thing is, for me, I hadn't done the other work. I believe 50% in everything we do is the other stuff. 50% of your job, this is how we describe it at work in the salons and stuff. The other 50% was missing. I didn't understand, mental health. I didn't understand following the crowd. I still wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
And for me, unfortunately for me, what happened was, fitting in was going out drinking and taking drugs, for many, many years, to the point that it got, just before I moved out here, it got to the point where I started losing jobs, multiple jobs.
So just so I can ask a couple of questions just before you go. So when did you first find like alcohol and drugs then?
I started drinking really early on, like 12, 13,
Very similar to me,
yeah.
Sorry, Mum.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think she ever still knows the stories, but
no, and taking drugs early, 13, 14, going to like, I always looked older than I did. So like going to, all night parties and stuff, saying I was doing something, but I wasn't, and we started taking, from the age of 13, 14. So it was recreational, whenever we would go out from a very young age.
Yeah. And why do you think you did that?
Because, I think looking back now, and I've been back a few times lately, is like, I'm from a village. There's not much going on, for one. There's not much opportunity. People are very bored.
Yeah.
And there's massive there's no help around self. People are just following what everybody else is doing. And that's why I got into it, because that's what everybody did. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And it got bad towards the end. I moved from where I was moving to somewhere else, and I lost jobs. And then it got to the point where, I wasn't living anywhere. I was living on people's sofas. I was claiming benefits. And, I remember just before I moved out, being sat in, the dole office, claiming money, knowing exactly where I was going to go and spend it. I was going to go and spend it going out drinking and taking drugs again.
Yeah.
And that went on for years, that it got back, a good couple of years of it being, where I wasn't working. And for me, that is, it was going one way or the other.
Where was your family in all of this?
So mum and dad, they're in the village where we're from. I moved not too far away, but the thing is, for me, I can shut people off. I didn't. The way they were just telling me, don't do it. But the thing is, for me, if somebody tells me not to do something, it's the worst possible thing for me, because I think, right, I'm going to do it even harder now. And it's still, ingrained in me now, which is good.
Yeah.
But back then, nobody's telling, it was just the normal. And it was, I could hide it for a long time. They didn't realize for many years, they didn't realize, what exactly I was doing.
Yeah.
But the last couple of years before I moved here, they obviously knew. I hid it, but I would just ignore phone calls. I would just be staying, they couldn't find me. I remember once my mum turned up when I was out. She'd found me, and I was mortified, and she dragged me home. But I just waited till she went to sleep, and I got up and walked back out again.
Yeah.
So
as this has progressed over a period of years, I assume it was years that this went on for.
Yeah.
What was the feeling when you started? Like, why were you losing the jobs? Were you just not turning up to work?
Not turning up for work. Yeah, just out partying. Rather than going to work, I'd stay up all night and carry on drinking with people, go back out again the next day. My social life, that where I thought I was accepted, where I thought I felt happiness and fun, and, that's where I wanted to stay. I didn't want to go back to reality. Because again, once you take, drinking and taking drugs more regularly, the thing is, once you do start to come down, the low is very low as well, and it's... I
was going to say, so how did you counteract that? Because...
Well, I didn't in the end, in the beginning, it's...
You were just always high.
Well, no, I mean, you just have days, a few days of feeling really down, and then you just have a couple of drinks and stuff. But, again, money... If I had more money, I probably would have taken more drugs, That money was an issue because I wasn't working. I was claiming, benefits and stuff towards the end. But, drinking every day to take the edge off, and, a few times a week, sort of taking drugs towards the end. And that was it. I was unemployable, It's, completely unemployable.
And what was the turning point?
My sister lived out here. My parents were coming out on holiday and they were like, right, we need to get you away. So they paid for me to come out on holiday. I got here and I was like, wow.
Where did your sister live?
She was living in Discovery Gardens at the time.
Okay.
She was a teacher. And we came out on holiday and I just couldn't believe what I could see. I'm from a small village in Oxfordshire, with a very, very narrow mindset of,
life
in general, what existed.
Yeah.
So them coming, bringing me out here, I was just like, wow, bright lights, everything. I was just like, this, I don't want to go home. I do not want to go home. I came home though.
Yeah.
And applied for jobs. And as a hairdresser,
you got a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. Massive opportunities.
We were saying this just before the podcast is I actually get I literally have dreams of, and I know my family listen to this and I'm really sorry for saying this, but I actually get nightmares of having a one-way ticket back to England.
Yeah.
It just scares me because and it's just my own personal opinion, but I just feel like I'm not suited for England as a whole.
No, and I agree with that. Over the last couple of years, for years I didn't go home. And then I think it was a few years, and then it would be like every other year I'd go home. But the last couple of years, I've gone home a lot because I've got a little boy, and I was sort of going through things sort of emotionally, knowing, my little boy needs to know who his family is and everything, and a bit of a roller coaster. But I went home not that long ago, and I don't know, it felt so lonely again, and I felt like, I'd regressed 20 years in some, some areas of that holiday, and it just completely freaked me out. So for me now, going back there again, I think, it's going to be a while before I go back again because it just digs up so many emotions. I feel like I'm that girl again, that is going to cause trouble or, or something. It's a really, really strange feeling. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So the job to Dubai, what was the job that you got? I say Dubai, but
Dubai.
You moved to Dubai first.
Dubai. So I worked for a very good friend of mine now, and she gave me the job, but she sacked me.
Okay. Who was that friend?
She's Ruksha. She works at Pastel. She's a lovely lady, and she's a really, really great mentor to so many people now. But I came out, I got the job with her, but again, the cracks started to appear. I was like, wow, all these ladies' nights, all this free alcohol, obviously no drugs. But
for women, you can go out and get bladdered for free.
Every night of the week, every night of the week. So again, drinking all the time, I thought my life had changed, I was like, wow, look at where I am, I'm not that girl claiming benefits anymore. I have a job. Look at the glitz, look at the glam. But the cracks started to appear again, and Ruksha, she sacked me because I was out drinking, it was a few times I'd not turned up for work again. But the final moment was for her is because my friends had turned up at work and they needed my passport. I'd been arrested, I'd been locked up for 24 hours in a police cell.
Wow.
So, and that was in 6 months of being here. There was, and it was.
And what was it? Just because you'd been too drunk, or
no? I mean, it was for me wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. We were with a group of people. A fight broke out. Somebody got glassed. The police turned up. We all got arrested.
Yeah.
Back then it was.
Yeah, it was just kind of like
we
pick you all up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 14 years ago. So.
Was there many women in the holding cells?
Yeah, there were loads. These places under there, it was it was underground. It felt underground. It was awful. I was in there for, over 24 hours and I was like, what, this is it. I'm going home. I'm going to get deported. You hear these horror stories, don't you?
Again, it's a moment that flashes before your eyes, isn't it?
Before your eyes, and seeing the women in there, they'd been in there months, some of them, and I don't know how much longer they would have been in there for, but you can't, I just, I huddled up in a corner. I found a mattress in the corner and I huddled up and I just tried to sleep and just not really acknowledge what was going on.
Was that a moment where you kind of realised that you probably should have looked at like how things were progressing in your life?
Still then after that, I still struggled.
Really?
I still, in this time I met my husband. And he also, was running away from something. So we had our own journey together.
Yeah.
We were drinking a lot together. Yeah. And we were a nightmare.
Yeah.
But one thing, and again, when we got together, we had no money either. I think we were getting paid like 10,000 dirhams between us when we first got together.
What was he doing?
So he came out so he left the army and he came here, and he started in oil, but he started right at the bottom.
Yeah.
He needed to get away. He'd been thrown out the army and he had to come, he needed to move away. So he was like, I'll take anything. So he started right at the bottom, and was being paid, I think he was being paid, one of us was being paid 6, one of us was being paid 4,000. This was in my second job after being fired. But again, we were so lost, the pair of us, we were running, but, we always connected because going home was never an option for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, for many years, again, we were growing up. We didn't understand, who we are, what we wanted, but we always did have that sort of deep connection, which kept us going, thankfully. Yeah. But yeah, there were times we'd wake up, we'd have no power. We'd have been cut off because we hadn't paid the bills. We didn't have enough money to pay bills, but we were still, going out drinking every weekend. So, that's
so your priorities were lying in the wrong place.
Really, really, really badly.
What was the turning point for you then? Like, when did you decide, right, we need to like fix this?
Yeah, fix this. Well, Murray, my husband, if anybody knows him, once he decides something, like, do you know what I mean? He's very much like, if he's going to do something, he does it. He picked up a book. I think it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he was like, wow, and became obsessed with it, because this is, once he's got something, he becomes like obsessed with something. And this motivational talk came on. He was coming to Dubai. I think it was in a Najahi event. Yeah. And I thought, he's lost it. I was like, he's finally lost it. I really did think he'd lost it. And I went just to shut him up, because he wouldn't stop talking about it. But we went there and my life changed forever.
Yeah.
And it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
Was this Robert Kiyosaki, yeah?
Yeah. And just other talkers. There was like Michelle Mone. There was, I've just never heard people talk like this before.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, there is a whole other world out there, And I think it was from that moment on that I decided to take my own future and my own life into my own hands, I switched my mindset. Life didn't owe me anything. And I just dedicated to, learning and growing from that moment on.
Yeah. What was the first book you read then?
So mine was Miracle Morning. Love that book. There's been loads as well. There's just so many amazing books out there, like just how much you can learn. But Miracle Morning was a big one for me.
Yeah.
How you can do everything before 8 a.m., how you can really change mindset and set yourself off. So that was a good one.
Did you stop drinking from that moment then?
No, I didn't stop drinking, but I didn't drink as much, I didn't let it get in the way. Because by this time here with the motivational event, I'd open my first salon.
Yeah.
So, it was still I've been here 14 years and the salons have been open 8 years. So I opened my first salon 8 years ago when we moved to Abu Dhabi. We took a bank loan.
Yeah.
And something had to change then. I was still sort of drifting through life. So we took that risk and we did that motivational event, and it was all within, a couple of months with each other.
Yeah, because they sell programs there as well, don't they?
Took a coaching program.
Yeah. And I've been to so many good ones. Unfortunately, I got like a really like average one. but they're still
Yeah.
like, when you see somewhat what they're doing, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So which coaching program did you take them?
I've had so many coaches now.
Yeah.
Mindset, business, like everything. I think at the moment I'm working with, doing some work with Kelly. I'm working with coaching masters, and I'm working with Josh McCartney, public speaking at the minute. Like,
okay, yeah.
I've become, that is my new addiction.
Yeah.
Like addicted to sort of self-development and investing in myself.
Yeah.
In ways. But like, I've had so much help over the years, and it is through different coaching. And I think it's not always just business, it's mindset, it's whatever I feel like I need at the time. I've spent thousands on it.
Yeah.
Because, you just, the more you learn, the more you can sort of put into yourself, the more you overcome things, the more,
Yeah. And that was a turning point for you. So rewind 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You had an idea. What was it like something that you were thinking about for a period of time, or was it like it was like in the shower, typical having a wash, and then you're like, I'm gonna start my own salon?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it was, it was Murray again, because he'd picked up this book, and he was in oil and everything, and I couldn't really find anywhere I wanted to work in Abu Dhabi. Things were very different back then in general, even though it'd be in Abu Dhabi. But so, again, he was like, let's do it. You can do it. So we took a bank loan, and I opened my first salon alone, just me in this big villa.
Yeah.
No idea what I'm doing. I can cut hair.
Such a ballsy move.
I can cut hair, let alone all the issues I've had before. I can cut hair, but I have no idea about running a business, and I have no idea about leadership.
Yeah. So you was working in a salon before, yeah?
Yeah.
And were you able to bring any of the customers over?
Yeah, you always think, and I think this is a big thing, and you see it happen a lot here, is when you're working for somebody else, you're like, I could do that.
Yeah.
I could do that. Just take all the clients with me, and I can earn more money from it. But even then, I had a huge clientele, but they don't always follow.
Yeah.
And it is a hell of a lot harder than it looks.
Oh.
The business side of things, and keeping all those people happy, staff and clients. So that's there's been a lot of highs and lows again over the last sort of 7-8 years. Sometimes not even knowing how I was going to pay the rent.
Yeah.
But by far the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Yeah, because I was reading that you was able to I think I read that it was 50,000 dirhams. You was able to kit the whole first salon out.
Yeah.
That's I work in fit out, and that's a good. That's a good.
I mean, we barely, I kept it as the villa pretty much. I got some dodgy guy in, like everything had to be ripped out like a few months later.
Yeah.
But it got us going. I bought I bought basins from, Dragon Mart, and like the pictures of it. It was literally just the villa with a few bits of furniture in it. So we did it, very, very cheaply. But it was, and it grew really quickly.
I was going to say, well, how was the growth period?
I think in that first year, it went from just me to having like 15 staff.
Wow.
Yeah.
And these guys will be churning out 30, 35 grand each a month.
Yeah. We went from, I think, the first year, I think 2015, we opened in May, from like 700,000 we to like a year later, we were like at 3.5 million,
Yeah.
It grew quickly.
Wow.
But again, equally with that.
With its challenges, yeah.
It's challenges, yeah, because again, I'm that person that wants to be liked, remember? I want to fit in, I want to follow the crowd. So I had to do some really, really deep work on myself, because you just want to try and be everybody's friend, and you want to try and, do as much as you possibly can for people to keep them happy, but you can't keep people happy.
Yeah, and that comes difficult when, you've got to tell somebody they need to do their job better, or X, Y, and Z. And yeah. And also the growth in general. Forget being nice to people, the growth in general of any businesses, processes, even procurement. Like you've got to order so many products, and it's like, was that all a...
Yeah, I mean, literally, it was just all a stab in the dark in the beginning, no idea what to do. But this is the thing, then I just dedicated to learning and growing about all areas of the business, all areas of the business. I learned very, very quickly, where I sit, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
So I plugged the gaps very quickly.
Yeah.
From a head office department.
Do you know what was really funny is I was actually going to ask you that question, but now we're on the topic. What are you good at and what are you not good at?
So for me, now I am about the leadership side. I'm a people person. I want to grow, develop people. I am not an admin girl. I'm really
me
struggling.
And you are going to get on well.
Like already I've tried to keep moving my legs under the table, like sitting still is not something. I need to be on the road. I need to be moving. I need to be inspiring people. I did a lot of the disc theory stuff as well, where people sit from a personality perspective. So that was really, really helpful.
So you've done the personality strengths. Yeah. What are your personality strengths?
So I'm an ID. It's changed. I used to be a very high I, but the work I've done on myself now, my D has come up. So
I did a bit of a different one because I did a very similar thing with a coach a couple of years ago, and it was personality strength. So communication, leadership, those types of were my. But then what they did was with communications, they spoke about they called it the balcony and the basement. So the positive and the negative of that strength.
You need to know what
and
this
it was
is.
crazy because I was like, wow, like. Yeah. And it was they ask you get half an hour, 52 questions. You have to answer them, multiple choice, and that's how it comes up with your personality. But it's hit me nail on the head for me.
Yeah, it's great, and it's like there's
learning
so
for
many
me is one of the less like reading as well. But
there's all the tools that are out there are amazing. Yeah. I need to know what this is, by the way.
I'll tell you afterwards.
But yeah, just really, try and keeping a really open mind to everything. And I understood very, very quickly that I need help with this stuff. I need help with the business stuff. Okay, I can do the business coaching. I can understand my business. But when it comes to the everyday, and I think this is where a lot of businesses go wrong in the beginning. They try and do everything.
Yeah.
And they try and they do, they don't do anything very well. Whereas in the beginning, I invested into a solid back team, marketing, accounts, content creators, like all of those things to be able to nail everything, very, very quickly. So I was investing more into my business.
Yeah.
But it's meant we've been able to scale very, very quickly with it as well.
Yeah. Again, going back to recruitment now, when you're launching a business, there's so many aspects of the business you just don't really understand until it comes around. But what was your first step for recruitment? Because you got people that can cut hair, but all the back office staff, they need to be there as well. But how was that process?
For me now, it's mindset, for sure. We make it very, very clear exactly who we're looking for now. We want people that want to learn, grow, and develop. They don't need to be perfect. We can help you with that.
Yeah.
But somebody that just wants to come in and go home, you can tell, make it, this is who we are as a company, and to be part of this, you need to be this, and you need to want to do this, because otherwise it's going to be a really, really annoying place to work.
Yeah.
And it's not that that's right or that's wrong, but this is who we are.
Yeah.
And
there's companies where you'll fit in for that.
For sure.
I've had people resign on me, and they've said, Dan, I just want to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be contacted on the weekends. I don't want to be contacted and I'm like, do you know what? I respect you.
Yeah.
If you're actually happy and content with that, then I want you to go follow that dream, but that dream's not going to happen working with me.
Yeah. And that's it, and that people get so frustrated with people. It's like, no, there's no right or wrong, but let's take it back to who you are. You really need to understand who you are as a company, and you need to spell it out to people what's expected.
Yeah.
And that again is a journey, in developing your company and everything.
Yeah. Do you know what? Even just thinking about that, I interviewed a couple of people the other day and I haven't figured out who I was going to hire, but now just based on what I said to you there, I know exactly who I'm going to hire.
No, that's good.
Funny. But we spoke at the beginning about you being a multi-award winning salon, an entrepreneur. But there was so many awards that I saw in your cabinet that I didn't even know where to start. So how many awards have you won now?
So me personally, I set out, again, early on in my career as a salon owner, again, finding my voice, I was the girl that got sacked, So again, now I've got my salon, nobody really took me seriously.
Yeah.
You could see them sort of looking and thinking, oh. So that I took that as, right, I'm going to show you, that like, tell me I can't do it. And I'm going to show you I'm going to do it. So we kept going in for these industry awards, and I think it's been going 7 years. So for business director. So I got nominated 7 years in a row, and I won it 3 years in a row, the last 3 years in a row. And it was always a big dream of mine, the business director, because I wanted to be I wanted people, I wasn't the girl that got sacked. I wasn't the nightmare. I wanted to be known as a industry leader, know, and that's what I did. And the first year I got it, I was like, right, well, that's it now. I've got to do it 3 years in a row, because then I get Hall of Fame. So, so I did it.
So you're now Hall of Fame.
I'm now Hall of Fame for that.
Wow, I wish I'd have known that. I'd have introduced you as a Hall of Famer.
And then also, we've just won Hall of Fame for Team of the Year as well. So not only did I want to win Business Director of the Year, Team, again, if anybody knows about Salon, Team is so important to me. We won that 3 years in a row as well. So we got Hall of Fame for that.
Yeah, that must be an incredible kind of feeling for you as well, because, and before we even spoke about the awards, you were just talking about mindset.
Yep.
And that's the key part, because you've got to have people happy working with you,
Totally.
And if their mindset is in the right place,
for sure,
then that represents your brand so well.
Yeah. And for me now, and the reason I do what I do is I have all these young girls working for me, and we build their careers. I don't want anybody feeling how I felt growing up. I want everybody feeling lost. So we do a lot of work on mental health. We have life coaches, it's all 100%, for them. And it's personal to them. And then,
how does that work then? Does somebody like come in once a month?
Yeah, so I use somebody. Zoom is obviously great now, so I've got a couple of people I work with in the UK. And we have like 5 people come on at a time. I pay for it, but it's completely their thing. It's nothing to do with work.
Yeah.
Because again, I understand once those limiting beliefs have come away and you've helped somebody through something, they fly.
Yeah, that's
and it builds them and it builds the business.
I love hearing this sort of thing, because so many people in the workplace, and especially CEOs and director level guys, they need to adopt this mentality.
Massively.
They need to adopt this mentality, because
it's the culture, that you build. People don't want to leave; they feel safe.
Yeah,
and it is getting better, but there's still, and especially with men, it's becoming more. There's a big still. Men taking help is a huge thing that needs to be worked on as well.
Yeah. So, how many salons do you have now then?
So I have 3 Tara Rose salons.
Yeah.
I am co-owner with a very good friend of mine, Jamila. She's also big within the industry here. We have the Blowout Bar on the Palm.
The Blowout Bar?
Blowout Bar on the Palm.
Drink?
No. Blow dry bar.
Oh, okay.
Blow dry bar.
Just go and get blowed out.
No. So that's another salon there. And then just about to launch the big one in Alcuz in September.
Yeah.
And this is, been such a project.
Is this your own project or?
Yeah, my project.
Yeah. So there's no kind of like other people involved in that? No.
So the all the salons are mine, and then Jamila, the partnership with the Blowout Bar. But this one is, so it's 2 floors, and it'll be my first male and female salon.
Wow.
So we will have full salon area downstairs, VIP area, beauty. Upstairs we'll have a barber's. We're going to have our own podcast office upstairs in the salon. So we've got some exciting things coming up with the education and everything. And then we'll have our academy space as well there, which has just all been signed off by the KHDA. So that's really exciting. Wow, it's been difficult, but
yeah. That's incredible though.
Yeah.
So is it that you can have men working for you as well then?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
and is it going to be an actual hair? Because this is the one thing I was thinking about. Because in England, like my friends have got their hairdressers and stuff. And one of my friends, Daniel Granger, he's quite big in the UK.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah. I recognize,
Yeah. So he's got his own salon, and it was normal for a man to go to a hairdresser, but out here, everything's a barbershop.
No, I know.
There's no hairdressers for men. No. It's just a barbershop.
The barbershop, yeah. So it's, it's been really difficult because normally here, to have male and female salons, you have to be in a hotel.
Yeah.
So there's been I've had that unit a year without any work. I've been paying rent on it because it was industrial for one.
Yeah.
So I had to change it from industrial to
That would have
commercial.
been a big fit out cost as well.
Oh my goodness, yeah. My child's not eating for the next couple of years.
That was a joke, everyone. Just joking.
Huge fit out cost. It's shell and core. So we're going from obviously industrial to commercial, shell and core, 2 floors. So we've had the planning department for the mezzanine floor to be put in, to have a mixed license, male and female, and then also having an academy that is KSDA approved.
Yeah. Wow. How's the fit out gone?
Well, we've only just managed to start doing the work like last month because I've had an empty building for this amount of time, because I was just like, we need to make sure we get all this done now. I can't cope on the other side, having it built and having it sat there for,
100%.
So we've done that. We've started the work, but our official opening will be on the 20th of September.
Nice. I'm excited to be invited to the event.
That's it. You can
come and get my haircut.
Yeah, that's it. But I've it's been a big task.
Yeah,
huge.
What do you? I mean, you've obviously. I mean, and people underestimate. Yeah, that's 5 salons.
Yes.
In 7 years, so that's nearly close to one every year.
Yeah.
Give or take a couple of months.
Yeah.
Why do you keep going?
The more I started to push myself and uncover myself, and the more I educated myself, the more things just started coming to me. The staff were coming to me, the opportunities were coming to me. Like, I believe now we create our own opportunities, and the salons the opportunities kept coming, and I just,
do people just approach you all the time? I want to come work for you.
Yeah, now we're in a really, really good place. We're known within the region, but also, people from the UK are coming out to us, and, their know people here, and we've got a good name. So, we're in a really, really good position now, because people are attracted to us for what we do. A lot of people are saying that they love watching all the girls' stories and stuff, because everybody looks like they're having so much fun.
Yeah.
They're smashing it at work, and we've got all these awards and everything, but equally you can see that they're happy. Whereas people are at home sort of mixing colours and just bored, and so that's really nice.
But also, I mean, how old's your son?
He's 6.
6. So
I had a baby in the middle.
You had a baby right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you was also being a mother.
Yeah,
But do you know what is inside you to keep going? Because, like you say, okay, there's opportunities, but it takes a lot to start even one business. I mean, I had a statistic. 86% of businesses that start fail. And then I can't remember the exact percentages, but the next percentage was like 25% of them fail again within, like the ones that do well fail again after 5 years.
For sure.
So there's a high rate of people that don't succeed.
Yeah.
So
it's a hustle. It's a massive hustle, but I love it. I found my calling. I get to build business, I get to make money, and I get to help other people, but to help build people's careers, see them grow, see them develop, not watching people doing, making the same mistakes as I made, so I get to make a business out of that now.
Yeah.
And now lately, obviously with the salons and stuff, I'm going into more sort of the e-commerce side of things, It's hard.
Yeah.
So I've got to the point where there has to be an easier way to make money as well.
Yeah.
It looks great, but it is hard. It has been hard. So I think, you do definitely have to really, really put yourself first where you can, and look after yourself.
From memory, what's been the hardest part, would you say?
Overcoming me, just overcoming, believing in myself, finding my own voice, not hiding behind things, for so many, only in the last couple of years have I been able to speak to people.
Yeah.
I've been able to run a business, but I hid behind my business for so long. It was all about the team, but I knew that if I didn't sort of start to grow myself and start to show people who I was, my business was only going to grow so much.
Yeah.
So, so that again, for me, just sort of finding that inner peace and not worrying about what people think. They don't really care anyway, that's what you think. And just, finding my voice to be able to help others.
Mm.
So that's been my biggest challenge.
We actually skipped something that I also wanted to ask you about is the inner work that you did.
Yeah.
At what point did you start doing the inner work?
Just I think, when I went to this motivational event, you start to, the more books you pick up, the more coaches you have, it's not just about the business, it's the internal work. So, it's never ending. It's still not ending, and I say to the girls at work, it's not one thing fixes all. It's an everyday battle.
Yeah.
It's an everyday thing. You have to do it. You have to work on yourself, because if you don't work on yourself, there's no fuel in the tank. No fuel in the tank, your business is going to fail, and things are going to crumble around you.
Yeah. You've overcome a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously myself and you, we're talking at an event tomorrow, is it your first event?
It is. Yeah.
It's our first.
First. Yeah. I've done industry stuff.
We're panel virgins.
I know. And again, it's nerve-wracking, telling people, talking one-on-one is fine, but in front of all these faces looking at you.
Yeah. So you've obviously faced fear a lot. I mean, if we go back to like even when you was in England, the fear you had to face of, like the drugs, the alcohol, the moving to the UAE, then you go you find yourself end up in a police cell, and then you've had to turn everything around, and you keep losing jobs, can't really hold them down. There's so much fear and having to overcome being outside of your comfort zone. What is your relationship now with fear?
If it scares me, I have to do it. Yeah. Like it's a to-do list for sure. Everything used to scare me, I'm scared of heights. I just got back from the Maldives. Like I went 7 years ago, I wouldn't get in the water because I'm scared of fish, So I was like, no, I'll get in the water, Like it's just understanding. And that's literally how I've managed to grow, because, if you can learn to control your mind and not let it run away with you, and you do understand that you can overcome anything you want to, being scared isn't real, So it's
just an emotion.
It's just an emotion, yeah. So that for me now is, if it scares me, I have to do it.
Yeah. Do you think that's something to do as well with like rewinding to your childhood, where it's kind of like, don't do this, don't do that? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I fear as much, but one thing that I did find growing up, that because my mum was so... She worries. She's a worrier. And I'm sure
my mum is a massive worrier.
If she listens to this, she's probably going to be like, do you know what? 'Cause she always says, I listened to that part, Daniel, but she's a worrier. And she always used to worry about us as kids.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite like fascinating. I find how that worry at the time, you're just shaking it off, but then later on in life, it really just bites you in the ass, doesn't it?
For sure, and I think, my mum, and I see her struggle so much, she just worries so much, and I think like it just must be true. Like I don't know how to live in that space, and this is why I don't tell her half the things that I've done or I'm doing, because she would just worry so much, unless she listens.
Yeah, of course, unless she's listening to this podcast.
The police cell.
Well, you can. We've got Q&As on Spotify, so you can ask some questions if you want. What's your mum's name?
Beverly.
Beverly. That's my auntie's name. Hit us up, Beverly.
She'd have a nervous. She'd be having a panic attack right now.
But the thing is, it's like the stuff that happened in my life that my parents don't know about, and it's our journey. It is what it is,
And you know what? I was so ashamed for so long about my past, up until a few years ago. I would literally like be sat there and have, oh my God, these like flashback thoughts and just sheer embarrassment of the person that I used to be, and the things that I've done in my past. But, it's just facing them head on. And, I wouldn't be the person that I am today without making those mistakes and doing those things, and it's full acceptance on, that's who I was, don't be embarrassed by that, and this is why I'm happy to talk about it now, because that again has been a massive journey, it was me. I did do these things, but for me now, if I can help other people, I was never a bad person. I wasn't shown the right way, and if I can help somebody else not make those choices or, show them a different way of life, then, that for me is my biggest buzz now.
Yeah. And when it comes to, like, you've obviously been very successful in what you do in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Now, obviously with success comes money.
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to then deal with the money side of things? Because again, this is another aspect that people don't understand is like when you go from having nothing to having something and you're like, wow, I have money for the first time. And
well, you know, for a long time, we haven't had money. It's all gone right back into the business. You know, my husband, again, he set up his business at exactly the same time. I've been 8 years and I think they've been 5 or 6, you know, so we opened 2 new businesses. He is amazing with spreadsheets and numbers and everything, you know, but for a long time, everything we had even less money, you know, like I say, we were many times I was wondering, you know, I've had to sell cars to pay rent, you know, all types of things. So, you know, it's only now that we're starting, you know, it's starting to pay off, you know, for a long time. I didn't go on holidays for about 6.5 years. I took no holidays, you know, I worked 6-day weeks, 11 till 8, you know, people forget all these things as well, you know, the graft that goes in, the sleepless nights and everything, you know, and it's only now that I'm starting to, you know, no, I deserve that, you know, I've worked really hard for it. And we were just laughing about it the other day because I've got an interview with the National tomorrow and it's like, are you a spender or are you a saver? And then my husband, like, he was like, you're definitely a spender now. I'm like, no, I am not. Like, you know, I just want to be able to buy myself a few nice things every now and then. You know, I'm actually quite a sort of down-to-earth, simple person, you know, but little things mean a lot, you know, and it's something that I've never been able to do for myself. So why should I not?
Now, the lessons from your life are a lot different to what your son's going to experience. How do you make sure that your son learns the same lessons? Because when you grow up around 2 successful parents, that at the beginning you reinvested, but now the fruits of your labor are probably going to be starting to show. So how do you make sure that your son remains grounded?
Yeah, and this is a difficult one out here, you know, because we have nannies and everything, you know, he has, you know, the way we speak, the way we communicate, you know, yes, he has a nice life, but again, equally, you know, our nanny is part of our family. He has to make his bed. He has to do things, you know, has to do stuff around the house. He has to have manners, you know, the way we speak to people, you know, the way we treat people, all of those things. It's very, very important to me that he truly understands the value in those things because that's, you know, whether you've got a good life or not, you need to understand those things to be able to progress further in life anyway. So, you know, it's a job. You know, and he is spoiled, but, you know, equally he's a very well-mannered little boy and, I would never let it be any other way.
One last question. If you could tell the Tara a message, the one that was laying on the sofa, drinking every night, taking drugs, what would you tell her?
You are enough, you know, you have got it in you. You're very talented, special, and if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything.
Amazing. Well, Tara, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I feel so blessed to have this opportunity to meet so many amazing people.
Yeah, I know. And like, it must be like, listen, you know, and I think we were saying earlier, you know, this is why for you now it's starting to really come back, you know, because you're surrounded by all these positive, you know, inspirational people, you know, so how can it not be, you know, so rewarding and things start to really, you know, pull off?
Thank you so much. And thank you for being a guest and thank you for opening up. I know there's stuff that we've spoken about here that nobody knows. So to be able to open yourself up and be that vulnerable just to kind of like help motivate other people is really, I appreciate it a lot. So thank you.
No problem.
And for you, the listener, thank you so much for tuning in again. Each week, it's just the amount of responses we're getting is just incredible. And I can't thank you enough. As I said during the podcast, there are Q&As that you can have on Spotify. So if that is your streaming platform of choice, ask us a question. I'd love to know what you think. If there's any topics you want me to discuss in the future, let me know because I'm here for you guys because you support me and you've listened every week, week in, week out. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe because a lot of people that listen and watch on YouTube don't actually subscribe. So without you, I can't get this message out and get amazing people like this joining every single week. So thank you very much again, guys. And until next week, see you again soon.